I'm
So
just
you can,
going to the sidetrack of morality because somebody introduced it, and I was saying that morality ultimately comes down to be something very a very flaky definition. And if it's just what God says is moral, then what do we cannot say anything about it
okay,
because
so
we
I
don't know
was
the mind of
arguing
God.
something earlier. Okay. And
No, because you
we had a
introduced the word
long,
morality and you introduced
no,
good
I
and
didn't.
evil.
I didn't. I
No,
was
you did.
saying, no,
You
listen,
said
listen.
chaos, and then you came to good and evil and and that was
Yeah,
the
so I
existence of
was
God.
debunking a claim you made. Okay. And I was saying, okay, so I was saying that even if the universe were to be purely chaotic, full of evil and havoc, it still doesn't serve as an evidence of the non-existence of a God. It only serves as an evidence against his character. And that's when we dived into the moral stuff. So I'm only asking, the question I asked earlier is, what is unreasonable for there being a God in the world we live in today? That was my initial question. And somebody was citing, you know, those evidence. And I said that chaotic or chaos in the universe is not an evidence against the designer's existence. It's just an argument probably against his bad designing
I am
habits.
not
Or
even sure there is chaos in the universe. It's not an argument I would make.
oh, okay, then
But
talk
Yeah,
to
then I think
children
let's
that
just
are doing.
let's just call it evil, right? That's a better word to use. You're saying that if there's evil in the world, it doesn't negate God, right? That's your claim. If there is some evil in the world, or more than some, or if it's very evil, then God still can still exist. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the
Yeah.
existence of evil could be evidence against God's character, right? But it's not an evidence against his existence. That's what I'm trying to say. That you can say, oh, if really God exists, then he's not really a good God. He is somehow good, somehow bad, because yeah, I enjoy the sex, but sometimes the sex also leads to some really bad stuff. So God is this mixture of good and evil. And even these Afro-Asiatic concepts that has to do with the duality concept, where in Chinese in China they outline it the yin yang kind of concept where they merge the dark side and the righteousness stuff. They paint that image about the creator, right? But I'm saying you can soundly make that argument, and then probably we will also dive in and deal with ethics and stuff like that. We can go there, but when I meet atheists, okay, and they start citing suffering, evil as an evidence against the designer, that's absurd. I don't know if you guys get me on that,
so
but that's
Okay, so
it's
let
a
me,
evidence
yeah,
against
convoluted way of dealing with
omnibenevolent.
things.
It's a
let me,
evidence
yeah,
against omnibenevolent design God. That's all.
yeah,
Omnibenevolent
so,
and omnipotent together, and omniscience. It's
Okay,
even
so
a
when we say
contradiction.
benevolence, okay, that word itself is a logical word. Okay, so we mean it in all its logical perimeters. Okay, for example, can God exist and not exist at the same time? If he's an omnipotent God, then why can't he do that? But that's an
yeah, I mean, well,
illogical,
that violates
you
one of
know.
the principles of logic. And then if you commit to
Exactly.
that,
So
you're
those
saying that God is
statements, those
irrational. Yeah,
omniscient,
hang on a moment.
omnipotent, omni stuffs like that, these are logical claims. So they need to be examined within its logical parameters. But for
Yeah, but
you
okay,
to
so
raise
Andre,
contradictory objections to those omnis, that's quite very an honest thing to do.
okay, so Andre, look, most people, most theists take it to be the case that God possesses these attributes. I.e., it's like we possess arms and legs. God possesses certain attributes, certain characteristics, and three of them being that he's maximally powerful, if that's the more advanced understanding today, that he's all knowing and that he's all good. And I would add that that he's personal as well. So, but the omni properties are what are considered characteristics like arms and legs, being analogous with God. He has these things. And if it's the case that God is defined by those characteristics and one of them are missing, then that God does not exist by definition. It's a deductive argument. Now, if you decide that God doesn't possess those attributes, well, then of course the argument, the problem of evil will not apply to you. But if you do think that he's all good, then the problem of evil does apply, and it's one of the most serious, in my view, probably the most serious claim against that sort of God. And I take it to
Okay,
be that that is what God is.
so in the book of Isaiah, okay, unequivocally, this is not a prophet talking on behalf of God. It says that I created evil and good. Okay, so what does that mean? Which means probably we might say, oh, okay, so God is actually good in his character, and then at a point he created a semi type of uh, you know existence we call evil, and then it's just the opposite or the abs- people have a whole lot of logical way of going around it, but you cannot run away from that text. People will say, oh no, when we mean God created evil, we mean the situation those Israelites were going through around that time and stuff like that. But the point is, there's no way you can take God out of the evil issue. He definitely has a hand in it. Okay, you see the way I'm arguing. If you don't take time, you think I'm contradicting myself. You cannot blame all human beings for evil without actually attributing the source to evil to the creator. It's like being a computer program or whatever. If you don't put that particular bootstrap into the software, it's never going to function that way, right? So for the fact that we've have evil right from the beginning of creation up to this time, it's an evidence to show that whoever created the world, whether it's Allah, Yahweh, or whatever, he really will that evil should be part of this universe. But the question is why? And I answer that I don't know.
Okay, okay, Andrew. You see, the